Our guest today is an A-list personal trainer whose clients have included Ryan Gosling, Christina Aguilera, and Rumer Willis. Clocking up over 40,000 hours of training under her belt and voted one of the top trainers to follow on Twitter, this fitness and lifestyle coach is still pushing herself to grow and learn. Her back catalogue of TV appearances, workout programs, and magazine articles cement Ashley as an expert in everything from heavy lifting to self-myofascial release. Learn how it's never too late to create the best version of you. Please join me in welcoming Ashley Borden to the Escape Your Limits podcast. So we're here in the Escape studio in West Hollywood, and I don't believe we're in California because for the whole of this year it's just been raining and grey.
It's like Seattle, California outside, basically. I know, but they need it desperately. But yeah, it's completely not California weather right now, especially right now. Yeah. But I'll take some weather. Yeah. I'll take a little weather from Chicago. I'm used to weather, so I'm not mad at it. You're used to weather.
Yeah, I know.
This is like your weather, isn't it? Exactly. This is like you're back at home.
And I'm going to ask for my money back because I'm just not happy.
Hopefully soon it'll change.
Yeah. So this is your kind of stomping ground, is that right?
We are actually in a gym I used to train at back in the day, yes, which is not too hard to find because I've trained in 8 million gyms since I've been here for quite a while. But yeah, this used to be a facility I used to train in. Yeah. But it looks so much nicer now with your stuff in here.
I won't ask you how many years ago because I won't give away any secrets, but how did how did the young Ashley get involved in fitness then?
Well, let's see. I started... I kind of grew up in fitness. My mother owned health food stores, which was like inspiring and traumatic at the same time. Really? Well, yeah. I mean, what kid wants to eat carob, sprouts, and it was like it just was, your peanut butter and jelly sandwich would weigh like 50 pounds because it was all natural. It was not something I appreciated when I was younger. As I got older, I really appreciated it, but not when I was living through it. And my father owned sporting goods stores, and he was a big athlete, and he was a big triathlete, and he did a lot of sports. And my mother also was a runner, and she was into athletics. So I grew up around it, but I was a dancer. Right. So I didn't know anything about weight training or lifting or anything like that, and I just was dancing. And then as I got older, it really, for me, was about I wanted to lift weights. I wanted to learn how to do all these different things. And I realized I know this sounds so antiquated now because there's so many trainers, but when I was really young, I didn't know anything about athletic training or an athletic trainer, or I didn't go to college. So I didn't know that these were all options. I just knew that I wanted somebody to teach me how to move correctly. And this is starting when I was in high school. So I actually, with my money, hired a coach to work with me because I wanted to learn. I just felt so unathletic, even though I was a dancer, because it doesn't support each other at all. Being a dancer does not support athletic movement pattern. Newsflash. So really just my getting into training and doing it was because I wanted to learn for myself. And so I still, to this day, am the trainer to you that I really want for me. That's how I do everything.
What do you mean?
So basically, how I am with you as your trainer, I am on time, I am obsessed with everything you're doing, I'm locked in, I'm watching everything, I'm present with you, that's everything that I would want you to be to me if you were my trainer. Right. Do you know what I mean? Okay, yeah. So I very much give what I want. I still work with a coach to this day. So just backing up, I started training really just because I was working with people that would ask me how did you get in shape? But meanwhile, I don't really know how I got in shape at the time. I just was I was dancing. And so when I moved out here, when I was in my early 20s, I was this is what I really want to help people. I completely skipped over all my years of an eating disorder, and then I went to treatment when I was 18. But that experience of compulsive exercise and compulsive overeating and anorexia and all that is also what changed my whole perspective around fitness and around weight training and around food. And I knew that I wanted to give back and initially I worked with women. I was I need to help everybody understand that you can have a good relationship with your body and you don't have to be a psycho. I did not know that this was an option. So when I moved out here, was really I just was training. I really went about my entire career like this. I didn't know that there was paths you could go down that were, you could go and decide to be an athletic trainer, or you could get a degree into kinesiology, I didn't go to college, so the way that I wanted to create it was kind of the way that it worked for me, and that was more through experience.
Right. So did you leave Chicago to come here to be a trainer, or did you have other plans?
I moved to Chicago because I was like, get me the F out of here. I moved when I was 18. I moved out here. And I wasn't training yet, but I was working out. And I was at Gold's in Hollywood. And this is before there was a lot of women that were there. This is before it expanded and it was really big. And I was working out, and I would have people come up to me, other women, and be like, how did you, I used to wear like half shirts all the time. Like, how did you get a six pack? And it's kind of how it started, but there was no cohesiveness in the beginning. I just was like, I don't know how hell I train these people. I don't know what I really don't know what I was doing. But my whole thing along the way was like, I would find different trainers that I really liked, and then I would pay and I would train with them. I would find another trainer I liked, I would pay and I would train with him. I trained with so many different trainers because that's the way that I really learned the best for me. And that's how I still do it to this day.
Right.
I'm always learning.
So when did you know that you wanted to be a trainer then?
I think I was around 22 when I first started, which was like 5 years ago. Just kidding. No, but I just had my birthday. I just turned 48.
Same age as me.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Are
age.
You?
Yeah.
There you go. 48 is a great age. And so that's really was kind of like, it kind of fell in my lap more when somebody was asking for me to train them. And then as I started experiencing working with women in the beginning, because I didn't know, I was like, how could I train a man? I don't know what I'm doing, And it was just over time and over experience. And then different relationships with different people, really helped me learn. And then I was taking classes. And so, that was a big part of it. But I would say in my very early 20s is when I started training. Right. It's just so many, I took such a longer route. I always say it's like, I took like the prison route. I was like on the prison floor for a long time training people. I would work, I had no boundaries with time. I didn't know about pacing myself. I worked 12 hours a day because I didn't know to say no. All these things now that I'm actually going to be starting doing this intuitive coaching with other trainers. And it was kind of like everything that I did kind of this zigzag way, I've now been able to kind of hone into one program to help people so they can not go the route I did in doing it. And, I want to help other trainers become even more successful with their coaching and their training and all that too.
Right.
So I like both ends of it.
So you talked about...
Can I give you a longer answer? Is that possible? Okay, sorry, go ahead. Yes. You can cut me off. Do not, I will talk.
Okay, we can edit that.
Yeah, please, edit it. It was a 5-hour answer. Yes.
So you reference about being unapologetic about your body. What do you mean by that?
Well, I work with so many women, right? And it's like, God forbid a woman's like, I look really good. Oh. If somebody walked in and was like, damn, I look really good. Most other women, they might have said out loud, I'd be like, what a bitch. Oh my God, what a bitch. I'm sorry, why? Because you feel confident about yourself? Because our society has ingrained women into denigrating them. Is it denigrating? Is that the word? Being negative about themselves, that's the way it has to be. It has to be like, I give you a compliment and you're a female and you're like, oh, but I've got 5 more pounds to lose. Or, wow, you look really strong. It's like, yeah, but I don't really know what I'm doing. It's like, so for me to say that I'm not apologetic about it, it's like I work my ass off for my body. I feel like I look the best now that I have from when I was in my 20s being a psycho trying to have a good body. It's like the freedom now just to strength train and to do all that, and the secondary effect is that you look good. So I think it's also my mindset has changed a lot from when I used to train. And
is this something that you try to give to your clients about that as well?
Oh. Well, yes. I am very bossy in different aspects of when you train with me. The first thing is a new client will come in, female more. The men don't really do it as much, but if we'll come in and we'll start the session. And the minute I hear anything negative, I go, okay, stop for a second and put the weight down. I'm like, you need to look at me for a second. And then I say, I want to make something really clear with you, and I'm not joking. in the hour that you're in here working, there is not one thing negative said about yourself, unless something hurts or you have a question about what you're doing. But no negative speaking about yourself in the hour that you're in here. And I'm not joking. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Before that happens, I will ask the new client, what is your biggest nightmare of cardio? What do you hate the most? And they'll be like, I hate running. I'll be like, oh, okay. So then when I hear them say their negative thing, we'll stop, we'll have the conversation, and then at the end of that, I'll say, so every negative thing you say, I keep a tally on the board, is gonna be a 400-meter run. So one person almost ran a mile at the end of her session. One girl, I think, did like 50 burpees and it never again. But I'm not joking, because it's a terrible habit to be in. And it's the habit of women to be so negative about their bodies all the time. And it's like, it doesn't help. You know what I mean? It doesn't move you forward. As I always say, how's that working for you? You know what I mean? So that's a big thing with that kind of no negative speak about it. And I don't have mirrors.
Right.
My facility does not have mirrors, and I like it. Like if we worked in here, I would just turn away from the mirror. But they still look in the mirror, you know. And the mirror does not do anything positive ever. It was like, I need to look at my form. I'm like, you're not even looking at your form. They're like, oh my God, I gotta get some more Botox. Or you know what I mean? Or they're looking at their color. No one's looking at their form. I'm like, that's what I'm here for. Or that's what your phone is for, you know?
So what do you think about, as a trainer and a coach for people, when do you think they should be positive? All the time, you know, so say for example, they're not what they should be, but are you still encouraging them to acknowledge it but still be positive, or how does that work?
Matthew, I do what's called a compliment sandwich.
Right.
Okay? So if I see you sitting, I'll be like, first of all, your core looks very engaged, and that is fantastic. The only thing I would say is your foot is really turned out the way you're sitting, and you might want to face me center. But other than that, it looks great. Okay. So you hear something positive, I give you the correction, and I end with something positive. Everything in the way I communicate with my clients and everything is all incredibly conscious. Everything I say to my client is very conscious. The way I greet them is very conscious. The way that everything I do, you know, part of being a trainer is also you need to be a people person. You need to be able to read people. This is why I think I have huge longevity with my clients, why I'm very successful with my clients, because I can read people, you know, and you need to know how to just be, and how, you know, this is part of also like working in the celebrity demographic. It's the same thing. You have to know when to be on, when to be off, when to dim your light, when to turn it on, when to back up, when, you know what I mean? It's an unspoken thing, which I think a lot of trainers have, because you're being around people all the time.
Right.
Or you're not going to last.
Yeah.
Or you're an asshole. You know what I mean? So it's more, you know, you have to be a people person, I think. It's part of it.
And do you think your challenges or your personal struggles when you're younger have kind of led you to do what you want? Because you had an eating disorder when you was younger. Is that correct?
Eating disorders, yeah.
Disorders.
I was, you know, compulsive exercise, compulsive eating, anorexia, bulimia, I mean, just a mess. Yes, of course. I mean, and also I hit bottom really young. I was 18 when I hit bottom. So I went into treatment and started my recovery when I was 18, which is pretty young, you know. So I have a lot of years under my belt of a 12-step program, and that's part of the gift I feel that's a gift that I have working with people. I can feel it with people. I can smell it immediately when I meet somebody, if they have disordered eating, what their body stuff is. I mean, I can download somebody in 2 minutes when I meet them, you know. And I'm very hands-on with people, and so that also tells me a lot about how they respond with body work, and I work on them, and I talk to them. So the first session when they come in is I do body work on them, and I talk to them about what's going on, and then we go over myofascial release and foam rolling, usually in our first session, and that gives me I understand them. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I understand who I'm working with, you know.
And how would you say then the body, in terms of either having too much weight or not enough weight, links to the mind? Is this where it kind of all starts?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
Really?
Well, okay, so there's different types of people who are heavy. There's people who are newly fat, right, who've just recently put on a whole bunch of weight, and they're like, I've never had this kind of, and by the way, when I say fat, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but I mean, whatever, fat. They put on fat, right? They feel fat, so
Right.
it's like new fat. Or then there's like old, dense body fat, right? People who've been heavy a very long time and have very dense, packed in body fat. That is no mobility to it at all, and it's like a rock, right? So to me, if you come to me and I can feel I can see it and feel it, right? If you're dense, packed in body fat, I know that you've been heavy for a very long time, right? So it's a different approach with you because you've lived your life as a very heavy person that's not mobile, you can't do a lot of things. And I can generally see in somebody if they've been an athlete before or not, you know? Somebody who has a lot of more mobile fat on them, it's like, okay, generally something has happened that started the trigger of the demise of what's happening with them. So there's generally something that happened. There is some event or something that's going on, unless they were obese their whole life. That's why I'm saying. So that's generally my first thing is like I want, and I'm not going to solve it on your first day I'm meeting you, but if you're very heavy and overweight, there's a lot of backstory to it. That's my own recovery too, right? If you're bulimic and you come to me, well, if you're an active bulimic and you come to me, I won't work with you, but you have to be in recovery and then I will work with you. But that also tells me a lot too, you know, and I think that's, we were saying before, the gift of my eating disorders is being able to work with that.
Right.
And have boundaries. I mean, I have a very anorexic client I work with who, you know, she's in recovery, but I feel like she's using me to move her eating disorder forward. So we had a real long talk. And I just said to her, I'm like, look, I'm not that bitch that's going to take your money just to take your money. Because I'm enabling your eating disorder, and that actually that's not okay for my recovery. So if you're not going to bring in the food and show me what you're eating, we're not going to work together anymore. I'm sorry. And she was like, oh, okay. So she started bringing in her food to show me. But you know, it's just certain those kind of things where I think, you know, some people are really specific with who they can work with. I can work with a big variety of people. Right. You know.
And so for you to get the result that the client wants, then it sounds like you spend quite a lot of time working with what's going on.
Well, I do. They don't know that, right? But like, then I'll be able to know, like, I'll say like, do you like to, first of all, I know this sounds so LA, but I'll be like, what's your sign?
Right.
Because I know more also, like if you're a Virgo, I'm like, oh, great. Because I know that you like things really linear, you like them organized, and you like them, you know, versus like me, who's like a Pisces, that I'm like, I can't do anything linear. If you need to, you know, you need to give me sections that I could choose from. It helps me understand the best way they receive information. So I need to understand how you receive information the best way. You know, like, for instance, Reza Farhan, who I've been working with, who's on Shaws of Sunset, right? And he and I have lost about 50 pounds together, right, over the course of time. Reza is incredibly self-motivated, but he needed some structure, right? So I brought on a dietitian to work with him. And I've also known him for like 20 years. So we've been friends for a long time, but in a more professional work environment. So anyway, she came in and she brought a scale. We were standing there and he was going to get on the scale. I could feel when he got on the scale, I was like, oh God, this isn't good. Like, he did not like it at all. And not necessarily that he didn't like it, he did not like it. And then I said to him afterwards, I was like, all right, let's talk about it. What's up with that? He's like, no, I'm not doing that. And I could feel it, right? It felt humiliating for him. He felt humiliated. Even though we weren't, but whatever. I mean, that's his thing with getting on the scale, right? So it's like, in that sense, I'm not going to make him do it. He doesn't need it. He's dropping weight. He's doing it the way you know what I mean? We're doing measurements, and that works better than getting on a scale and having three of us look over his number, and it makes him feel like shit, right? So it's like, but I could feel that immediately when he got on the scale. You know, so it's like things like that where I wanted to step in so he didn't have to tell the dietitian that. I know him, I could handle it with her, so it didn't make him uncomfortable. It's like those kind of things that are unspoken, but also why it keeps him, if he had to continue to get on the scale, he would have probably stopped training. Right. That's what I mean. Do you know what I mean? And maybe not being able to articulate, that's what it was that was pissing him off. Yeah. But he's doing great. I mean, he's still losing and it's still strong like a beast. So, and it depends on the person. Like, I build a lot of teams with people. So, you know, I mean, and again, I tell everybody, I'm not out to spend your money. You know what I mean? It depends on what your budget is and what kind of support you feel like you need. You know, and so I will build that for anybody in whatever the environment is or what they need. So, you know, there's a lot of that and understanding like what people need, you know, and not what I feel like they need.
Yeah.
I want them to tell me first, and then I try to kind of help that with what their goals are.
So you obviously know and work with a lot of sort of very successful trainers. On the TV program you did, Revenge Body, you're working with other trainers. What would you say, kind of from your experience yourself and other people you know, what makes a good trainer? And is it something that you can, is it skills that you can learn, or like you were talking about, is this a gift that you've kind of got or you haven't got it? What do you think?
Okay, well, I think there's two types of trainers, right? If you're an athletic trainer that you come on the field, you fix somebody and you come off, that's a trainer, right? But that's a completely different type of trainer than personal one-on-one training when I'm speaking to you for a whole hour, right? My friend was an incredible athletic trainer. He was incredible athletic trainer, and then he transitioned into personal training and couldn't keep a client because he was a frigging nightmare to talk to. You know what I mean? Because he was not a people person. So that's a big thing. He was an athletic trainer because he didn't have to deal with people on a personal level. Do you know what I mean? But the personal thing for him did not work well, and so he had to go back to what he was. But he didn't know the difference. So I always tell people, like, you have to be a people person. You have to like people to be a trainer, or you're gonna hate it. You know what I mean? Or have boundaries. Like my best friend and my coach, Brian, is not very much a people person in terms of like talking about your feelings and blah, blah, blah. He just wants to train you and have you leave, right? I do all of it, but I also have boundaries. I'm not gonna sit here and have you just talk for, you know what I mean, every time you come in and we have time, we have work we have to do. So what makes somebody a great trainer? First of all, you having an injury. If you were injured before, it will make you a much better trainer on many levels, because you know what it feels like to everybody, almost every single person has had some kind of injury, you know what I mean? So being able to understand the body, understand the fear of a client who comes in who has been injured, knowing how to work around that.
Is it being able to empathize with where they are?
Yeah, being able to empathize with the fear of being hurt, being able to kind of call out what it is that, you know, even down to like my clients, if they're doing something and I see them squatting and I see their eyes continually moving to the left, I know that they're worried about something, and I'll say, okay, stop for a second, what's going on? And they're like, I'm worried about my whatever. So it's like, you need to be completely present. That's another thing, you have to be present. Not texting on your phone and sitting. That's a whole, don't even get me started. What are you sitting for? What are you sitting down for unless, like, you know what I mean? It's like, you're not giving me any energy. Also, it makes a great trainer is that you have hired a trainer yourself. You have spent your hard-earned money on a coach yourself. Then you understand the value of the time that you are giving to your client. You're rolling into every session 7 minutes late? No. You should be there 15 minutes early. Like, late? So it's the value of time. It's the value of you. Your programming. You don't have a client come in and be like, what do you want to do today? That's, you know what I mean? It's like going to the dentist and the dentist being like, so what do you think's going on with your teeth? You know what I mean? Like, no, it's like people want to be told what to do, but you also need to be able to answer why. I'm not just going to tell you what to do and then you ask me and I'm like, don't ask me why. Don't question me. Like that, you're an asshole and you obviously don't know why you're telling me what to do. So I'm very big on being transparent, but also you need to be in charge. You know, people want to be told what to do. That's why you're a trainer, you know? So that is me. I am very opinionated about my business as far as what I feel like you should do. As what you need to do to be present and to be respectful of your client's time and their body. I mean, you could kill somebody. You know what I mean? It's like people are giving you their bodies and going, here, do something with me. You know, you should have some pride and responsibility with what you're doing. You could kill somebody. I've seen that almost happen. Yeah. So, and if you don't like the person, you have to have boundaries. That's another thing.
And when you say boundaries, what do you mean by that?
Oh, Matthew, how many stories do I have about boundaries? Well, okay. Boundaries and okay, there's many different levels of boundaries, right? Like I don't have any issues with clients crossing personal boundaries with me because I don't present that at all.
Right.
Like I don't present that at all. You're not going to try to cross a boundary. Because I'm your coach, and that's a very clear thing. I'm not like trying to be flirty because I don't feel good with what I'm doing as a trainer, and I need to get your validation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's not murky for me what my position is with you. What was the question? I'm sorry. I just got sidetracked. I was thinking about what the hell am I talking about?
So no, I've forgotten the question.
Yeah, sorry. Wait, but no, I know about boundaries. Hold on.
Yeah, that's
so
it.
So perfect, really quick story. So I had this client come in who I've been training for a long time. She walks in the door. She pays me, a lot of money. She walks in. She couldn't find a place to park. Now, let me just also tell you that this woman, every time she would come in, was so high. Which, okay, if you're going to smoke weed before you train, but it's going to affect your workout, that doesn't work for me, right? But she was always so high. She was always so late. So she was late and high, and then she couldn't find a space. So guess what? It's going to take you a long time to find a parking spot. So she comes into the gym. I'm waiting for her. She's 30 minutes late. And she walks into the gym in front of all my peers and says, if you think I'm paying you your full rate today, you are mistaken. It took me 30 minutes to find a parking spot. Let's get started. I was like, okay. So, like, for instance, in that moment, right, my personal self in that moment is, get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? What are you? But I didn't want to do that in the moment.
Right.
So I said to her, you know what? No, let me give you the entire session free. Let me give you the entire session free. And she was like, no, I'll pay for half. I said, no. Let me give you the entire session free. So I did, but so you're asking me, so I already felt in that moment I was compromising my integrity, because my gut in that moment is, you have no respect for me and we're done. I can be your trainer, I will be your trainer, I will wait for you, I will do all that, but I'm not your bitch. So there's a big difference between me being your trainer and being somebody's bitch. In that moment, I felt like she was talking to me like I'm her bitch. Like you're late, it's my fault. So we waited, she came in again one more day, she tried it again with me. And I said, no, let's back up. And I told her the whole story, and I said, I want to make something really clear with you. You don't hold my livelihood above my head as a threat because you're late and because you're mad at yourself. Okay? That does not work for me. And I can't work with that because I feel like I'm compromising my integrity to work with you. And it won't work for me anymore. So I'm going to refund you the rest of your money back and we are done. And she started arguing with me, and then she swore at me, and then I said, you can get out, you can leave. And I kicked her out, and I said, you can leave. Anyway, I wrote her an email back, and I just said, this won't work, I will refund your money. I hope you've learned what's going on, you need to have more respect. She learned, she understood, but I'll tell you what, after I got rid of her, the best client I've ever had fell into my lap that sees me 5 times a week that I love. So I really, really believe in, when you are in integrity and alignment with yourself, the universe totally rewards you. You know what I mean? So that to me is when you cross a boundary.
Right.
Is if I feel like I'm compromising my integrity. And when that happens, I don't care. I feel like there's enough people in the world to work with. You don't need to hold on to clients who are not good energy. It's very personal. So if it's bad energy, I can't do that,
I guess if you're starting out as a trainer, probably the temptation is to put up with that kind of stuff. Would you
Well,
agree?
as a matter of fact, when I worked in this place, the first client I ever got rid of was in this facility that I used to work at. She also screamed at me in front of people. She wasn't losing weight. And she wasn't showing up, but she wasn't losing weight. And she yelled at me. And I did not have the clientele I have now. And I needed her money. But you know what? Even then, and this has always been kind of, I think, a core of who I am, even in that moment, I fired her, and I was like, no, because I've always believed I've always believed this deeply, that when you are a good person and you honor yourself, the universe will take care of you. I do believe that, and she was a nightmare too. But in the very beginning, I had that. I used to do that. I was like, I'll never get another client. I have to say yes to everybody. I've never had anyone be. Oh no, I have. I had some people be really awful to me, but but I'm not like. I will say something. Yeah. But you have to look at the bigger, I tell all trainers, like, you have to look at the bigger picture. You know what I mean? You can't look at it like this. You need to look at the bigger picture. I mean, do I have some clients that I'm like, they're not my favorite, but we just train and we've done, we're not in a relationship. You know what I mean? So, but as long as you're not a jerk and you're respectful and you want to work, and then that works. I'm pretty much, I love all my people I work with. I don't really attract a lot of negative people.
And is it just purely business? It's like, okay, look, as long as, this is how I am, this is what I expect of you, B, and as long as we've got that contract, then we're good. And
yeah, I mean, most people I don't really need to spell it out like that, but I don't cross over with my clients. So I don't socialize with my clients. I don't go out to dinner with them. I don't hang out on the weekends and smoke a bowl with them. I don't do that. And I'll tell you why.
Why do you think? Oh,
I don't. Yeah. You know what, Matthew? I'll tell you why. You don't even,
on,
you know what? You
tell me
don't even
why.
need to be here right now. Just leave me your notes. You can leave. I'll answer these myself. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Wait, what did I just say? What was I just talking?
I remembered it this time.
What was it?
So why don't you hang out with your clients?
Because you need me as your coach more than you need me as your friend. You know, I mean, you didn't come to me because you were like looking for a friend.
I guess some people are though, aren't they?
Some people are, but then it ends up being like I am your coach. But it changes the dynamic of the dynamic, you know, and I find that I get much better results with my clients when they also don't have any negative association seeing me. What happens when you're personal with your clients, right? Or you get in their life, you are now association with the personal stuff that's happening in their life, right? You go to dinner, she got in a fight with somebody, you're part of that, now she's gonna see you, you're part of a negative part of the drama. For me, I wanna be a place that you are so excited to come to and train, you forget about everything else, you focus for an hour, you're happy and you leave. I'm not a part of your drama. I'm not a part of your negative association with others things going on. And that can happen, you know, and this is why I have a lot of, you know, setting boundaries. It's another boundary thing, you know.
And you talk quite a bit about energy, negative energy, which makes sense. Where did that start, and how important is that in your life to be focused on those positive things and get rid of anything that's negative in your life?
Well, Matthew, as an empath, as I am very empathic, empath, yes. I can't help but feel everybody's energy. So it's not even like I'm not trying it. Like I'll walk in anywhere and I feel everything, you know, and I can feel you. So, you know, that's a big part of it, is that you don't even need to say anything. I can just feel it, you know. And I think when I was younger, I used to think that I was just antisocial and I just was like, didn't like to be around people outside of work. And then I really realized that I just have to like pace my energy being around people, because I have a huge output. It's the energy thing, because I output so much energy during the day. I know it's hard to believe, I talk nonstop, you know, but I'm so much energy I'm outputting, so I can't overdo it. Like then when I'm done working, I don't want to output more energy at a party with a bunch of people I don't care about. I don't want to talk to you. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I don't mean to sound like a horrible person, but like, I don't want to have a vacuous conversation with somebody standing slightly drunk talking to me at a stupid party. I'm like, why am I here? I could be home with my animals, regenerating and rolling out on the floor, one of these rollers, you know? So I don't care. I don't care if people think I'm on social, or I've learned, you know what I mean? I'm like, I am social in the way that I'm social, and that works for me.
Do you apply that to your thoughts as well? So throughout the day, the week, obviously in life and business, there's lots of ups and downs. You've had an interesting career. Do you focus on, you know, allowing the positive thoughts into your mind and discarding anything negative? And how do you do that if you do?
I mean, like, what do you mean? Give me an example. Like, what's negative thought?
So I guess if there's something happening, you know, whether it's in business or you're something's not gone as you want to, are you as disciplined in your mind with positivity?
So I don't bring my personal shit into work.
Right.
So if I had a fight with my boyfriend, I'm not bringing it into work and talking. I barely talk about myself with my clients.
In terms of self-talk, though, so when you're
I have to be honest.
Yeah.
So probably the reason that I'm so like this with my clients is because I am my hardest critic and coach. I mean, I am the hardest person on myself. I don't even need it. I am 5,000 bosses living in my head. You know what I mean? So I'm very hard on myself, but I'm more hard on myself with my expectations. I'm not like, oh, you're fat, you're ugly, not like negative stuff like that, but more like, I'm very competitive. So I thrive by my other peers that are doing well. Like I want to know what they're doing because it motivates me to do well. I'm always wanting to create things, and I think that's what keeps me out of just being, negative. I guess I don't sit in my negative thoughts because I'm like, okay, what's the next thing that I want to create, or what do I want to do, and then if something doesn't work, I just move on to the next thing. That's a big thing. I don't dwell in it.
Right.
We had a before and after with this guy that my partner and I were doing for my AB Fit app, available on ashleyborden.com. And the guy that we did this 6-week transformation did not follow through with his end of the bargain, what he was supposed to do, right? So we had to start going back and forth. There's all this pushback. Meanwhile, I have all these other things going on, right? So my partner really wanted to focus on that and get it done with him. And I said, you know what? There comes a time in business with stuff. Some stuff you just got to be like, it was a ton of work, moving on, next thing. It's not worth it to put all that energy into that. Like, let's put energy into something that's going to bring us what we're looking for, because this is a dead thing, So it's like, when do you move on?
Yeah.
And there's some shit that you're like, I put 2 years into this or whatever, but you're like, guess what? It's dead. Move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? So I think that's a big thing, is to know when to move on and not hyper focus on something that's not working.
No.
I'm very much a solution person. If it's not working, leave, next thing. I'm trying to be in the solution. I think that's also another thing. Yeah. Be in the solution. I'm not if you're going to complain all the time and not be in the solution, then don't talk to me. You know what I mean? You just want to complain.
Are you, in yourself, whether it's personal, business, fitness, are you a sort of a goal, vision setter? So are you clear about what you want, and do you spend a lot of time thinking about that?
Yes. I am incredibly driven, and I have been my whole life. But I think that I used to be so ADHD, I couldn't get anything done.
What do you mean?
Well, before I knew how to structure my life that worked for me, like when you have attention deficit issues or you're hyperactive, like I was when I was a lot younger, I would want to do all these things, but then I couldn't do any of them. It's hard to explain. If I was like, I want to find a space to build a thing in, I'd be like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. Forget it. I'm going to do something else, like that. I wouldn't even be like, okay, well, the first thing is, where am I looking?
Okay.
What area do you want to work in? I would understand this now. So I also didn't understand that working for myself is the best way for me to work. I don't do well if I have a boss that's giving me deadlines. It doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me, So I think understanding how I thrive in my own environment, and I think that's why I'm also so hard on myself, because I have financial goals. I'll be like, all right, I want to make X amount every week. So, okay, how many clients is that? Okay, what else do I have to do? When I trained Christina Aguilera for many years, right? She was a very big part of my income at the time because I toured with her, I trained her, I did a lot of stuff with her, right? And then I think it was after 3 years we stopped training together. And in my mind, I was like, okay, well, that was a huge chunk. So what could I create that's going to give me a big chunk that's going to replace that? I'll still personal train. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I want to do these retreats. So I was doing these retreats with other people. I want to do these retreats at the Four Seasons. So I created these retreats, and then I reached out to them. And they were like, no. And I was like, okay. But then they came back to me a month later, and they were like, we want to do them. So I started doing all these retreats, right? But that was more coming from what can I offer and what can I do that I can replace that income with, right? And something that was going to give me. So that was a long-term thought of what I wanted to do, because then I wanted to also consult with hotels in developing and pushing out their fitness programs and doing all that. So I did a lot of, I created these retreats, and I did them for many years. They're so much work.
Yeah.
So much work. But
how much time did you, so when you came up with that idea, you had to replace a big client, which I guess a lot of people are in the situation, maybe they lose a big client.
Yeah.
How, was it something you said you had in your mind you're going to keep focusing on until you get it, or was it something that you kind of have in the sideline and say, if things happen, I'll make that work? What was your process on it?
It's so funny. I'm so self-conscious about, for me, the way I works great for me. If I had, if you were my partner and you were like, okay, where's the written out timeline of all this? It's like I kind of feel like I work with different things at once, right? I try not to do too many things all at once, but with the retreats, right? I was like, what's the first step? I'd already done them. I'd already been at that hotel. So I was like, I need to talk to the guy that I knew I had a relationship with there first to see if they were even be interested. Sometimes I start at the wrong spot. I wanted to first have their interest, then I was going to build the retreat. So I didn't build the retreat until I knew the hotel was interested. And then I was like, okay, what was I doing with my private clients? I would travel with my clients and do this with them anyway. So I was like, I want to offer this to everybody. And that's how I kind of just created it as I went along. And that's what I kind of do with a lot of things.
But is it something that it's like you think about it on a regular basis until you do it, or you do? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like my app, right, for fitness, right? My whole thing for a long time is like, oh, God, I just want to be able to give this information, the programs to people in a way that's easy to digest and to use it on. Because I'm not very user-friendly with, like, super complicated apps, And so I was looking for a platform for it, but I wasn't like every day, it was like, I know I want to do this. I'm going to put it out in the universe. I want to see it. And then one day, like, this thing popped up and I was like, oh, okay, this is the platform I think I'm looking for. So I do both. I will do research and I'll also like try not to, I just kind of let it happen as I'm doing it, unless I have a partner that I'm working with. But I create a lot of these things on my own because I don't have a business partner. I mean, Brian Redfern is my partner with my app and all that, so we do everything together with that. But with things that I want to create, I did a podcast. I think I might have talked to you about it. It didn't work I love podcasting and doing this, but the technical part of this, like, I don't have a Kevin. Do you know what I mean?
You need a Kevin.
You need a Kevin. Everybody needs a Kevin, right? And you need all of the setup, right? So it was like my idea for it I wanted to do, but then when the reality started and I started doing it, I was like, this is too much for me to do on my own. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to do this now. Maybe I'll do it another time. But I didn't sit around going, you're such a loser. You wasted so much time. You know what I mean? It's like, move on, next thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you've been very successful in evolving from a trainer that is essentially trading hours for money, which is obviously has its own limit, to developing a brand, being a television personality. Was that something that just happened, or did you plan to say, look, I'm going to have to, I like my training, I love it, but I need to evolve what I'm doing?
Okay, well, yes. I mean, earlier on, I'm like, anyone who has a brain is like, if this is your livelihood, also from other people I've worked with, that I have other coworkers that I've worked with that I see that are a lot older than me that are still training hour to hour, and I'm like, kill me now, you know what I mean? And not happy about it. If you're happy, that's great. I have no judge. I love training still, you know what I mean? I don't look at any of this as a punishment for me. But you have to look outside of that because you can't live hour to hour. So yes, that's why I started developing retreats. Then I wrote a book. I'm a published author, and then I developed 2 DVD programs that were and streaming programs that were no equipment and equipment, because I know no equipment is very in demand. Some equipment is. I did a lot of stuff with like Live Strong and YouTube, right, for a while. I got asked a lot to create people wanted to monetize my videos I did with them, but I don't own them, right? So that was the thing. I was like, wait, I need to own my own stuff. So then I was like, I'm going to produce my own stuff and I'm going to own it, and then I'm going to license it. I've never done it before in my life, but I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I started asking around for producers, and I got many quotes, and you know what I mean? So I ended up finding a great person, and then I did it. That's how I learned from my first time, and then the second one was great. So you have to have other things in the background if you want to do this as your career. I mean, like, and also, yes, would I love to just work hour to hour? And yeah, I mean, I love doing that, but I want to be able to reach way more people also, I mean. Is
that one of the drivers for you expanding your brand?
Yes, okay. I want to help as many people in the world as possible. And that comes from a true desire to help people. And yes, money is the secondary part of it, but it's, I need more people need to hear from me.
Right. and I think that's a great comment, because if we spoke a bit about off camera, but you see a lot of the social media videos and courses where as a trainer you can become a 6-figure trainer. It's very sort of, money, financial based, which obviously is important. But do you think if you are a trainer that's purely getting into it to earn 6 figures, as opposed to you won't?
No, you won't last. There's no way you won't last. No. I mean, and you won't also, when I get people who are like, how did you become, I get so many emails like, I want to train celebrities. How did you become a celebrity trainer? I want to train celebrities. How did you do this? And my answer is always like, if that's what you want to do and you want to train celebrities, you should find another job.
Right.
That is my answer. Nobody gets into, there's not one good trainer, I think, well, first of all, that is training with that demographic that got into this because they wanted to work with a celebrity demographic. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? You're an excellent trainer, which is why that demographic wants to work with you. Because you are a great trainer, which means that you have a good education, which means that you understand what you're doing because you've worked with so many people and you're not a star fucker and you're also get how to be. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's a whole nother thing too, you know what I mean, with that demographic.
It's an interesting comment, and I think there's a lot of examples in life about this, but it's just that thing that you're going into it for is not probably what you're going to get.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you like waiting? Like, you know what I mean? Basically, do you like waiting? Yeah. I hope you like waiting. Yeah. That's very glamorous. You know what I mean? And it's like, this isn't about you. Yeah. It's not, and that's the other thing. It's not about you.
It's the wrong
Yeah,
goal,
it's the wrong
way
mentality around it. And that the celebrity demographic can smell that 1,000 miles away, and so can their team of people. Do you know what I mean? When you're a weird celebrity stalker, and and that's part of it too, is that like I don't want to be that person I work with. I love who I am, and I love what I can do for the person. I'm not secretly wishing that I was that person. And that's a lot of people, I think, in the business that are like that. And there's some trainers that There's some trainers, I worked with this one trainer for a long time, who anytime we would be in the same room together, I would want to disappear and die because I was so mortified. He embarrassed me so much because he would always be talking about throwing his celebrity client's name around, and he's like, we were on the plane and like all this stuff, and it's like, no, you friggin' weirdo, this is not your life. You are the trainer, and this is what I tell a lot of trainers, like, if there's a list of people that work with this demographic, you're probably down here. Do you know what I mean? And there's 8,000 people waiting to take your job. So you need to be an asset, not a liability. That is my motto with everybody, be an asset, no matter where you are. Yeah. If it's at a gym, you're new at a gym, be a friggin' asset at your gym. You know what I mean? Like, help. Ask what you could do. I mean, it's just, I come from that mentality, which is with everything, you should be an asset. People should want to be around you because you're helpful and you're an asset. You're not an annoying liability, And
as a result of that, you'll attract the right kind of people.
Yeah, you do.
Into your business.
You do. And I mean, I think that for me, like we were talking about Instagram before, I have a good handful of trainers that I follow. I follow a lot of people, but that I see their stuff all the time that I really like, that I learn from. I mean, that's the great thing about social media or Instagram is I've learned a lot of it because there's a lot of really good coaches that have a lot of really good content that they put out there.
Who are the ones that you're sort of...
Oh my God. I hope I don't say any of their names wrong. Ben Bruno.
Okay.
Oh my God, Danielle, and I don't know how to pronounce Danielle's last name. It's with a P. Thruster bench.
Thruster bench.
He did hip thruster. My God, where's my phone? Luca. I'm not going to say all their names right because I'm looking. Adam Bornstein, who's freaking amazing. BJ Gador.
Okay.
I love BJ. He's friggin' awesome. There's a couple other women that I follow, but I don't know their names off the top of my head. But I do have a lot of women that I also really like too. But I feel like, I have a really hard time with trainers that are like woo-woo female trainers, that are sexualizing what they put out there in order to gain respect. Yes, at this point, you can feel good and look hot or whatever, but there's a big difference between looking really good and being just sexualizing everything, or just like being a bad trainer. It's hard for me when I don't have respect for you, or like I don't understand what you're doing. Like I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like I don't get this, but
What are your thoughts about? Because there are some people that have built huge followings on social media that have not got a solid background in training. They guys, girls, both, they just look hot. They've either got a six pack and a nice shape. What do you think? Is that good just because they're motivating people who probably wouldn't do, or are you against that? Or?
I'm on my face. Well, I mean, there's so many things that, okay. Is it motivating to look at somebody, they're aesthetically pleasing, and does that motivate you? I don't know very many people that are necessary. Female-wise, I see people who look at other people's bodies and they do the whole comparison thing, which is horrendous, right? And also you're looking at a still photo. You're not looking at, when you're looking at video. I feel like the legitimate, it's what your content that you put out there is, to me, what makes you more legitimate, right? So these fitness people that are selling their programs, with high numbers that people follow them because they look good, have they ever touched people? I mean, this is the thing that people don't understand. Like, if you haven't had somebody actually physically touch a human, right, different humans, not just yourself, you are going to be very bummed out with what you're purchasing. Because that is why programming is so important, and programming is what makes the big change for people. It's not just piecemealing shit together, and I like this workout and I like this workout, and that's how you get a composition change. This is what I find with a lot of younger girls, that I have to really explain about the training with that and why following a program is so important and what it means, what strength building really means. Like, what does that mean? Why do I have to rest if I'm doing a heavy weight, or a lot of women, younger girls are, really bar method, really high volume, light weights, and eating no food, and their adrenals are friggin' shot. And then you turn 30, and then they come to me and they're like, "What happened to my body?" And then we start strength training, and it changes everything. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, the people who buy them could tell you.
Yeah.
You don't really see that many before and afters of people who are following the hot guy who's all on steroids. And that's the other thing. Like, fine, do steroids. I don't care, but you need to be honest.
Yeah. How important is social media?
Steroids? Just kidding. How important is
steroids to you? No. How important is social media then for you now in your business?
Oh.
Because obviously when you started, it was
Well, it's such a love-hate. You know what I mean? It's crucial. Because of Revenge Body and being a blue check, it's different. And I'm on the show. So when we did it, that was a huge part of our work that we did. But with companies, I work with companies, and that's just how it is now. When companies hire you and they want to work with you, your numbers have everything to do with why they hire you, which is also hurts my soul. You know what I mean? Yeah, because I would lose out a job. I have 33,000 followers. I would lose out a job, and I'm 33,000 followers, 40,000 hours of working with people, right? But the other person that has 400,000 followers, 10,000 hours of working with people would get the job because of their number. You know what I mean? So it's whatever. It is what it is. But you have to have
How do you deal with that though? Because I guess there could be some really good trainers that just don't probably play in that space, or because it's not easy to build that kind of following. There's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's not organic anymore.
No. No. None of it's organic. I just try not to. I try to be consistent with what I put out there. I pay attention to what people. I look at my numbers to see what got more interaction, what didn't. It's interesting. It's very hard for me. I'm more about putting you on display than I am about putting me on display. So it's harder for me. I get more views and everything when it's me on my own Instagram page, but I'd rather put you on it. Do you know what I mean? So it's very against my nature to always be like, "Oh my God," and make it about me, But I have to do that too. In the beginning, it was really, really nauseating for me. But I'm just more myself now, just doing my own shit. I don't know. It's such a love-hate, and I think it always will be. But I'm pretty consistent with I just continually want to put out content. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And how does the TV side play into it? Is that also important, that the social media side to get more work, or?
Well, you were asking how did I get into? Well, okay, I'm in LA. This is what I also tell people. If I lived in Delaware, I probably wouldn't be doing any TV.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But I live here, and this is why I also work with this demographic. It's hard to find trainers that are good trainers, get results, can speak, are good on camera, and can speak and are good on camera. You know what I mean? So there is in that smaller demographic of that. So that's why I think I'm used a lot, and I do a lot of that because I'm very comfortable on camera. It's not like a camera comes on and I'm like,
do you have to practice a lot to do that? No.
No.
Just came natural.
Yes, it's very natural to me. I don't feel any different with this camera on or we were sitting here talking otherwise. As I'm like, no, just kidding. But no, I again, because to me, it's like more people. I can help more people, you know. But I have a background in TV and film and all that before.
Right.
But I'm not uncomfortable. And I did stand-up when I was younger. If you can do stand-up comedy, you can do anything.
And is that a good thing that you'd recommend if trainers want to go into television? You wouldn't.
No, I would not say go stand-up comedy route.
No.
It's a whole other story why I went stand-up comedy route. No, I mean, like, you're either good on camera or you're not. I mean, I hate to tell everybody, it's like, find your niche then. If you're not good on camera, there's many other things you can do that you can make money and be successful and help people. Do you know what I mean? That's what's great about the internet and all this stuff. You don't necessarily have to be on camera, you know, doing it. And by the way, it's not necessarily how you're making, you know, how do I say this? Just because you're on a TV show doesn't mean you're just raking in the money, right? The way that you rake in the money is how you monetize your appearance, yourself.
Right.
You know, it's not like biggest revenge body. It's like, here's $1 million for each trainer. Do you know what I mean? It's like they give us a great opportunity to have a platform in 167 countries. Like, say what you want about the Kardashians or whatever. I am so grateful for Khloé because the show has such a reach. I mean, 167 countries to have that show in is incredible, and be able to help all those people, you know? So you have to look again at the bigger picture, you know, and I think she does a great job with that.
But that's really, from a business perspective, that's just a platform for you to then use and build your own brand.
You could easily just be on that show and then
nothing.
You're just on the show. Yeah, like you have to. So when you ask me, do I think out? Yes, I do. With this, like the last year, I was thought way out before the show. I had everything already planned out and ready to go with my app and with the program and what we did with her. So like the AB Fit app, all the programs that we have on there are all people that we've actually run their programs, and they've had major changes. So like the Project Hot Body was the girl from Jennifer's program that she ran on Revenge Body. That is available. The exact program she did, the 12-week program, is available via the AB Fit app. But that had to all be planned out way before the show. I mean, way before the show came out. Right. So yes, you do have to plan, and you have to be smart like that.
Yeah. What's the sort of the transformation that you're most proud of?
Oh, well, I mean, like, there's so many different, I guess, aspects of it, right? Because there's weight loss, which would be like Jennifer, who I did from Revenge Body, who had a huge weight loss. You know, I mean, I think she lost 40 pounds and like 10 inches from her stomach. But then I work with kids sometimes. Like I have a 12-year-old I work with right now, Talia, who wants to be a quarterback. And, you know, she was super shy and not really liking her body and all this stuff. And like, we've just focused on her strength and all this stuff. And she's just completely come out of like, she's so much more confident. And Self Magazine picked up something I did with her, and she feels so good. I mean, she's bullied a lot in school. And so the strength training has helped her so much. So that's a transformation to me also. Yeah. I love seeing people just find confidence in being strong. Yeah. You know, yes, you can have a weight loss transformation also, but I see so much transformation all the time, especially with women, like just finding strength and not hating their bodies anymore, you know? There's so much self-hatred. The strength training gives you so much more freedom from that. And I also love that. So
before I ask the last question,
yes.
if people are interested in learning more, finding your programs, where are you in the...
I'm everywhere. Well, you can the home base would be ashleyborden.com. That has everything on there. Also, tons of free content on there as well. My Instagram has a lot of great content in it. That's Ashley Borden. Is it Ashley Borden or Ashley Borden? Ashley Borden Fitness. Okay. Twitter is Ashley Borden. And I have a lot of stuff that's coming up in 2018. a lot of the stuff I can't talk about yet. So, make sure that if you want to know, you subscribe to my newsletter on my website, and everyone gets all that information as well. But I do communicate with everybody. Like people on Instagram always ask me, I ask any of the people I communicate with everybody, so I try to help as many people as possible.
Yeah, is that important? Because I guess a lot of people with big followings like yourself, they can't connect with them.
Well,
Is that something that's really important?
There was a girl, she just did a post where she said, right after Veg Bite, she reached out to me and she said, I need help. And I was like, what can I help you with? She said she almost fell over because she couldn't believe that I responded. Cut to, she's lost 80 pounds in the course of the whole year. This will be a year now in March, that she ran 3 of my programs and doing it. She came back into her chef life again. She's a chef, she's a mom, she's doing amazing. Mother of Macros is her Instagram. But like that to me is amazing, but that's why I tell people it's like just a little reach out or support, being supportive on Instagram or like great job, whatever, it makes people's day, you know what I mean? And it could change the course of somebody's life. So I am very positive in that way. I'm not negative on social media at all. Right. I don't understand being mean. I don't understand it. Also, who has the freaking time? Like, who has the time to sit
Obviously,
and
some people
spew
just don't
vitriol?
have a life
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it. So, So it's like there's transformations everywhere, that can happen.
Yeah. So final question then, Ashley.
Yes.
Escape Your Limits is about escaping what you've either believed yourself is impossible or other people have said is not possible. What would be a recent example of where you've escaped your own personal limits?
Okay, this is going to sound really crazy, but I had to retake my ACE, my ACE test, my certification as a trainer, right? I was like, oh my God. I can't even explain to you as somebody who's ADHD, to have to take a test for me is like building a pyramid. It is almost impossible, it feels like. And for years I avoided it, right? But on the show, they were like, no, you have to take this test or you can't do it. And I was like, oh my God. So long story short, I hired a coach. She helped me figure out the best way that I could learn. I started taking these online tests all the time. And I studied every day, 15 to 20 minutes, every day, 15, 20 minutes every day. And then I was like, oh my God, okay, I did it for 2 months. And then I was like, I'm ready to take the test. I went in by myself. I took the test alone in the room and I friggin' passed. Now, most people are like, well, you're a trainer. What are you talking about? I started hysterically crying. It was the biggest achievement for me personally because I understand what goes on in my brain.
Yeah.
I would say that as I escaped my limit with that because I used to tell myself you could never take a test. And I would avoid a lot of things because I had a lot of shame around that.
Yeah.
A lot of shame around test taking. So that I feel very proud, very, very proud of. And I would say also the work that I'm doing with people on the show, on Revenge Body, and with the app, and being able to make a difference with people using, like it's crazy when people like use your stuff and then they have these changes, and that I'm not there with them training. It's like it's just the best feeling. Right. Yeah. Wonderful. It's great.
Well, actually, there's been some wonderful lessons there. I'm certainly going to go listen back on some of those.
Oh, yeah. Do you have 5 hours? Please go. Make sure you bring a sleeping bag.
We'll have to do a part 2 because I've only got halfway through my questions.
You have enough here for 4 parts with this one. Well, thank you for having me.
Ashley, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Take care.
Thank you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.